Good morning. Welcome to Member Focus Monday. I'm Christina Schaefer, Social Media Manager for HAR, and I am joined this morning by Realtor Safety Expert and Trainer Brandy Liss. Brandy, welcome.
Hey, how are you doing? Good morning.
Good morning. I should say welcome back. You were on this program, I guess about maybe a year and a half ago or 2 years. But it was definitely time for a refresher. Realtor safety,
Absolutely.
yeah, realtor safety continues to be a hot topic with, people just getting more and more creative. So we thought it was time to have you back and hear from you on this very important topic. With that being said, we know that we have many realtors that watch this program, but if you're watching now, take a moment to like this post and share it with other realtors, share it with realtors in your office or in any realtor groups that you're in so that other realtors can benefit from this information as well. So Brandy, just as we get started here, if you could tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and your background, as well as your passion for realtor safety.
Oh, absolutely. So I've been a realtor, I guess I'm going on 6 years now. It's hard to believe. But prior to that, my family and I, we owned, well, I guess my family would include myself, we owned the Arms Room, which was an indoor gun range and retail. I am a military veteran. I served in the Army, where I was a diesel mechanic, which is kind of funny because I'm kind of a girly girl. But anyway, um, but it was at the Arms Room when I really started getting involved in personal protection for women predominantly. And at that time, I was also selling my house and looking for another house. And my agent at the time, um, when I went out with her, I saw all. I was like, oh my gosh! At some point, she was fumbling with the lockbox and took me into this dark house and allowed me to follow her in. And I thought to myself, I could have, hurt you or killed you or stolen your car and married your husband and whatever at this point. And so it was very clear that this industry, they're very vulnerable. We're very visible. Realtors in general are very visible, and they put themselves in a lot of vulnerable positions, and safety is not always top of mind, or they get complacent, or they don't think it's going to happen to them. So it became a passion of mine, and I enjoy it, and I love talking to realtors about different ways to put your head on a swivel and pay attention and be protected and think about that and always have it in kind of the forefront of your mind and look at different options on how you can protect yourself.
Didn't you tell that realtor also that different things that you could have done and she was just in shock? I remember you telling me that story.
Yes, I think she trusted me. She
Mm-hmm.
said, "Oh, but it's you. I know you." And I said, "Yeah, but if you're doing it with me and so comfortable, you're probably doing it all the time and don't even realize that you're
Mm-hmm.
doing that." And she's a seasoned realtor. She'd been in real estate probably 30, 40 years. And I think you just get comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But she did come back. She's a broker, and she did come back at some point. She's like, "Hey, I want to get more knowledgeable, and I want to have some ideas of ways I can protect myself." And we looked at different options of different things she could carry with her on her
Mm-hmm.
person, and things she could do differently. And she was very open to it, even though she'd been a realtor for that long. And she saw the need. And I
Yeah,
don't think she's
absolutely.
ever had an experience, but yeah, she definitely was like, wow, what a thing to think about now,
Well, thank goodness for
especially this day
that.
and age.
Yeah. And thank you for being here today to share some of those tips with the rest of our members. So, just a question off the top really quick. Realtors tend to be a target. So, why do you think that is? Why are realtors so frequently targeted?
We're highly visible. So you can look on every corner just about it, and you're going to see a billboard with somebody's name or face, and their contact information. So we're very, very visible. Most realtors, they tend to drive higher end cars. We dress professionally. People think we have money. If they only
Mm-hmm.
knew. No. but, but they do. I mean, we're the only industry, I think, where our income is public knowledge. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's advertised almost, and people don't realize, what comes out of that, taxes and how it works. And so they assume, oh, if you just sold a $300,000 house, then you're making X number of dollars, then you must
Mm-hmm.
have money. So we're very public on that as well as far as our income. Um, you know, Previously, prior to COVID and everything that's happened in this last year, I mean, I always tell the story. I always thought that realtors had to be like airline stewardess. They had to be, beautiful and attractive and well put together. And that's still true. I mean, most of them are just lovely people and very attractive. I might be the exception, but I digress. So, but anyway, but they present well, they're eloquent, they look like they come from money. But in this environment, I think it's even more important in a politically charged environment, racially charged environment, our economic environment. And if you think about it, realtors were deemed essential. Mm-hmm. And if the the housing industry has been carrying the economy, so we saw job losses and we saw layoffs and all this, and the housing industry stayed pretty strong. And that could be a trigger for some people. They're at risk of losing their home, or they can't qualify to buy a home, and they're looking at us and we're out there hustling and bustling, and that could be a trigger. So there's just a lot of tension in the environment. There's a lot of frustration. And when tensions are high, desperate people do desperate things, and we are targets of opportunity. I mean, it was a long-winded way to get to that point of, a lot of times we're quick to just go show anybody without vetting them. We do open houses in vacant homes. We show vacant homes. Mm-hmm. We're not always paying attention to our surroundings. We're not always aware of what the intentions are or what the trigger is. Mm-hmm. And so we're very vulnerable in that sense. Yeah. So a lot of it's a perception. I mean, we're targeted because of the perception and the visibility that we put out there.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So we want to get into some of the personal safety and things that they can use and tools and different things like that. But we have had a lot of members lately reporting, threatening texts and emails and phone calls, either threatening or harassing in nature. What can realtors do in those circumstances if that does happen to them? And then also, is there anything that they can do to prevent it?
I don't know that you can prevent it. Like I said, we're out there. We're very visible. Our phone numbers are plastered all over everything, and our emails are plastered all over everything. So I don't know that you can prevent it, but you need to take action to try to minimize it continuing. Mm-hmm. So, we had the foot fetish man, and we have had and I've seen things recently where there have been phone calls and they've been very threatening. Mm-hmm. And I think, definitely reporting it. I think you guys do a great job mm-hmm. at HAR. I mean, you guys have some resources, and people need to contact. And I think you probably have a person directly that mm-hmm. For some reason I can't think of their name, but to report things to. Calling your local law enforcement, reporting it to them. There may not be a whole lot they can do, but if we've got a phone number and or even a name associated with that, maybe we can research it and try to mitigate it from getting worse or spreading or letting people know. I love our platforms. Social media is a great platform to be able to share what's going on, what's happening, and giving people the alerts and the insight that this is going on so that they can be cautious and conscientious.
Yeah, definitely.
So who is the gentleman that I think, because it's on our HAR platform.
It's our PR manager, David Mendel, and we can share contact info in the comments. And but we always urge you, like Brandy said, to contact local authorities first, make a report of some kind, and then you can contact David, and he could in some cases issue a safety alert to other members, especially if there's multiple members reporting the same thing. That's obviously somebody who's targeting a lot of realtors. So we like to put those messages out there to alert our members. So yes, definitely. Yeah, very good. So moving along here, this is something we've talked about in the past is leads. A lot of realtors, they get that lead, they jump in the car and go. But is there anything that realtors can and should be doing to, number one, just check the legitimacy of the lead, but any measures that they can take ahead of time that could help them or just keep them a little more safe than jumping in the car and going?
Well, I love what you guys have just put out for us as members as well. The verified user, super easy. Mm-hmm. I tried it out. It's fantastic. And I know that we have a couple of videos. I don't know if we want to segue into those here in a minute. Mm-hmm. And then Forewarn is another great app that I know a lot of people have mentioned that they're using, and I have it on my phone as well. So there are a couple of apps that you can use to kind of verify the source and get some information. Historically, ideally, you would have a prospect come into your office and meet you in person. And that's not really happening, especially under the conditions of the environment currently. So trying to get as much information as you possibly can prior to jumping in your car and running and going and meeting a stranger is ideal. I noticed, and I think it was on our HAR platform again. I love that page. It's a wealth of information. But I had somebody say, well, I didn't have any basic, but they said, they had asked for a copy of the driver's license, and the client did not, well, the person did not feel comfortable providing that. And then they made a comment about, well, I'm going to bring my husband to the, to visit the home, and the person canceled. So, following your gut and paying attention to those little signals that you get is very, very important. I mean, I know that we work to earn an income to pay our bills, and running and jumping and taking care of the clients is very, very important. And I know that in this environment where it's low inventory and houses are moving so fast that you're like, I've got to go now, but your safety is really more important. So if you can get as much information as you can, if you can take someone with you for safety, that's ideal. We will talk about some of the safety products that you can carry on your person that are less than lethal. So you're not, there are options in opportunities or times, not opportunities, times that more than less than lethal would be advised. But definitely look into some of these apps, know who you're talking to. I'm notorious. I'm gonna tell you, I will get a phone call and sometimes I let it go to voicemail. And I know every realtor out there is rolling their eyes at me right now going, it was probably me calling you about your listing and you didn't answer your phone. But if I don't know your phone number or I don't know who you are, I'm going to do a little research first. Now, normally I will text you and say, sorry, I can't talk right now. But I'll do a reverse search. I'll tap you into Forewarn. Now I'm using this verified user. I love it. But I'm going to check you out before I answer. There's been a couple of scammy phone calls right now, not real estate related, but saying that somebody's got my social security number. And in one day, they called me 26 times. I was so irritated. Believe me, I didn't want to answer the phone anymore after that. But you don't know who's on the other line. And in a measure of take that 5 or 10 minutes. And if it is a realtor or they leave you a message, and come on, realtors, leave messages. If you want people to call you back and we're not answering right away, leave us a message, text us, hey, I'm XYZ, I'm calling you about your listing. I'm going to call you right back. I promise. But there are some ways to definitely vet your prospects before you run and jump and put yourself into an awkward situation.
Yeah, very good. We're about to get into your bread and butter, what people can do out in the field. But I do want to mention we have some members sharing in the comments that they do ask for IDs prior to showing. Lisa even said she has a line in her email signature, just letting people know that this is our policy, so that there's no question. So that's great. So if anyone else has tips or comments, suggestions that you want to share with all of us, please type those into the comments. And also, if you have any questions for Brandy, type those in as well, and we'll get to those in a little bit. So I want to talk to you about what people can do out in the field, because I know this is, again, your bread and butter here. You mentioned earlier the story about your realtor and the ways that she was putting herself potentially in danger. So what are some things that realtors can be doing to keep themselves and their clients safe out in the field? Maybe it's showing a home, maybe it's hosting an open house. What are some things that all realtors should be doing to keep themselves safe?
So I believe in the 10-second rule. Everything's in the matter of 10. So when you get to a home, first of all, I'm always early. I have the motto of if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. So whenever you can be there before your client gets there, of course, getting to open houses, you're always early because you got to get everything set up. But this gives you an opportunity to be more prepared. So you want to look at the exterior of the home. I think it's very important. And everybody laughs when I tell them this because nobody thought about it. But go and figure out which side of the home the gate is on. Because if you have to make a quick exit and you run out into the backyard and the gate is on the right side of the home and you run to the left, unless you can scale that 6 foot fence in your stilettos, which I don't wear stilettos, but if you wear sexy shoes and you can scale that 6 foot fence, you might have just put yourself in a worse situation. So go and see which side the fence is on. Always know where your exits are. Know if, because I showed a house the other day and they probably had 6 entry points into this home, which I think is a little terrifying because you can't monitor all of those. So come up with a plan. Maybe I'm going to have the front door unlocked and then a back door unlocked, but I'm going to lock all those other entry points so that I don't have people coming in from different areas. But I need to know if I needed to go to one of those doors that I have a way to get out. So is it a deadbolt lock? Maybe that's the one I leave unlocked, because if it's going to take me a few minutes to try to open it, then that might not be the best option. But look around the area. If you see things that are suspicious, if you see things that are concerning, pay attention to it. Maybe, and don't ever be afraid to call local law enforcement and ask them to do a drive-by, ask them to come in and check on you on your open house. Don't think you're wasting anybody's time. Pay attention to those signals. Look for things that are out of place. Just pay attention. When you're going into the home, don't allow people to follow you. I like to stand at the door, let them go ahead of me, and then I kind of follow them around. I usually already have the lights turned on, everything's ready to go. So they're welcome to kind of look around, and I'm just kind of observing, there to answer questions, maybe to point a few things out, that sort of thing. But they're taking the lead at that point. My favorite is everybody asks, and we have historically always taught that you park your car on the curb in front of the home so that you're not blocked into the driveway. I personally disagree with that. And the reason why is I'm a little short, chunky thing, and I am not going to run across the yard over the hood of the car. Now, I'd like to think I'm a ninja, but I don't know that I could scale the top of the car and get to the driver's side door fast enough. I'm pretty sure they would catch me. So I want to have a direct access from the front door to the driver's side door of my vehicle. So I typically pull into the driveway. I try to park far enough back in the driveway that nobody can pull in directly behind me. Now, keep in mind, your car is a 2-ton weapon. If I have to run over you or your garden gnomes or take out the shrubbery, I'll do it. So, but I need to get into my car. That's a safer space for me, and I need to get there quick, and I need to be able to have a way to move or fight at that point. So if I've got to use my car as a weapon, I definitely want to get there fast. So, and there's no wrong answer there. It's just my personal preference. And my recommendation is I pull into the driveway. I try to pull in where I'm not all the way pulled up to the garage and that they can pull in behind me and block me in and prevent me from being able to maneuver. But I definitely have a direct access to my door. And then I can use that to drive through the front yard if I have to, or ram into their car, whatever I need to do. But definitely paying attention, knowing where your exits are. If you're in a dark area, I think it's important to have some sort of light feature. Usually we have our cell phones with us. And so don't be afraid to use your flashlight. And then keeping your hands free. This is easier for men because they usually have, wallets in their pockets, everything. But women tend to carry like everything in like 6 bags and purses and all kinds of stuff. Keep your hands as free as you possibly can. Put your purse in your trunk and then only take in what you need for that showing. If it's a car key, your phone, and your MLS papers or whatever. If you do need to carry something in, I recommend a crossbody purse of some kind that you can put your stuff in there, and that way you're still hands-free. So those are just a few tips. I mean, there's so many things we can do to be very proactive. And the most important thing is mindset and being mentally prepared and paying attention to your surroundings.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you. We have a few realtors that are sharing suggestions in the comments. But we do have a question here as well. Karen asked, what are some suggestions for when we meet with sellers for the first time and they are giving us a tour of their home?
Kind of the same concept. Let them take the lead. They're going to take you around. It's almost like they're presenting to you and trying to sell to you, which they are. They want you to list their home. So they need to sell it to you so you know how to sell it to somebody else. So let them take you around and show you around. And at this point, This is a great opportunity for when you're listing. If they have butcher blocks with knives on the counters, this is where you say to them, I need you to remove those butcher blocks because of weapons of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I want to know where the butcher block is going to be hidden in case I need to get a weapon
Mm-hmm.
to defend myself. But you go around and you tell them if they have medications that are out, this is your time to tell them to put those medications away. If they own shotguns, rifles, or anything, if they're hunters or
Mm-hmm.
military or police officers, I can't tell you how many times I've gone into law enforcement's home and there's been a pistol up in the closet, and I saw it, so I was like, okay, we need to do something different with that. If you're talking about your own protection because you're going into a listing appointment and you don't know the people and that's a
Mm-hmm.
little unnerving, again, it's all about that mindset, that awareness. Maybe you take someone with you.
Mm-hmm.
I like taking newer agents, because they want to shadow and learn about listing appointments, but it's great to go in as a team, as
Mm-hmm.
a pair of people. You're less likely if there was an opportunity for that seller to victimize you, they're less likely to do that if you have someone with you. Don't be afraid to invite your boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives,
Mm-hmm.
sisters, cousins, uncles, brothers, whatever. Don't be afraid to do that. Some people are more receptive when you come in and you have someone with you because they feel like you're a leader and you're in a teaching mode. And there's a level of confidence that goes up when you have somebody with you. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
fun. So, but don't be afraid to do that. But this is a great opportunity to really see the type of person that you're working with
Mm-hmm.
and then to advise them on how to help you protect realtors that are coming into your home, and then to protect the items in your home as well. And then if the sellers are making you a little nervous, um, you got to be proactive on the front end. But definitely, if you get those spidey senses start going off,
Mm-hmm.
this is your exit strategy. Just get out of there. And I tell people and make jokes. I'm not everybody can get away with what I say, but have a phrase, a key phrase. And I know Keller Williams kind of set the tone for this, but they said, you can call your office and say, I need the red file, and this is a trigger to let somebody in the
Mm-hmm.
office know that you need help, right? Now, there could be a situation where you don't have that ability to do that, and you're at a listing appointment, and those spidey senses are going off. Act like you have a family emergency.
Mm-hmm.
Act like you have some sort of gastrointestinal issue. I'm sorry, I have to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm physically ill, or my daughter just called and she's sick, and I need to run to go pick them up. Have an excuse or some phrase that you can use that you're comfortable with saying that gets you out of a situation quick.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
That's
usually you
great
can tell
advice.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell like right when you walk in. If you start feeling a little uncomfortable, go ahead and make your excuse to get out of there. And if
Mm-hmm.
you need to reset or you want to vet them a little more through a phone conversation, even a Zoom meeting or something like that, you can do that.
Yeah, that's great. And I think this virtual world, that's one thing that you could do if you are ever, nervous. Ask them to set up a Zoom meeting or a FaceTime or something instead so you can get to know them a little bit better before you meet them in person. Um, Someone actually, Tracy, added when you do go meet them for the first time, that's your time to ask for permission to video the home as they're touring. So do people have permission to video this home? Because again, that goes into protecting their personal property. Um, Rosie asked, and we're about to get into this question about tools, things that realtors can carry on them to use for protection. But Rosie asked the question about license to carry firearms. There's so many realtors now wanting those. What is your opinion on that subject?
Oh, I'm an advocate for that, but I do believe that firearms are a last resort, and I don't believe that a firearm is an only resort. I
Mm-hmm.
believe in layering your defenses for sure. So, there is a time and a place for everything, and there are pros and cons
Mm-hmm.
for every tool that we carry. I'd like to give a little plug. Brian Mobley, he
Mm-hmm.
is a firearms instructor, CHL LTC instructor, and he's also a realtor. So he is very favorable about teaching, um, firearm safety, firearm use, getting your certification or your license to carry. He would be a great person to reach out to.
Wonderful.
So I believe in the use of lethal force when necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Do I believe that everybody should carry a firearm? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
If your mindset and you're not mentally prepared to take another person's life, and you are not training with that firearm on a regular basis, it is one thing to shoot a paper target at 3, 7, 21 feet. If you're not doing that regularly, then I wouldn't recommend you carrying a firearm.
Okay.
Another issue that we run into is females. We don't always carry it on our person. So what are we going to say? Hold on, Mr. Bad Guy. I need to dig in my Louis Vuitton and find my firearm that's probably holstered and the safety's on and all that. I mean, time is of the essence. 90% of the time, you don't know you're being attacked until they're already touching you. So distance is an issue. A lot of attacks happen from behind. Not many people are proficient at shooting a firearm from, behind themselves. So there are some pros and cons. But I am an advocate. I believe in it. I support it. Get trained and practice.
Definitely. And be proactive. Like you're saying, most attacks happen from the back. Well, one of the suggestions you made earlier is don't let them, walk behind you. So
Get behind you.
Great. A lot of people are asking for you to repeat the instructor's information if you can.
Oh, okay. Brian Mobley. And he is a local realtor, and I think he's with Keller Williams. Brian Mobley, if you're listening, put your information in there. He is a firearms instructor. He worked with us at the Arms Room. He's fantastic, a very, very knowledgeable and a great instructor. And he takes care of us realtors for sure. So Brian Mobley.
Very good. Thank you. So firearm, you're in support of that, but it should be a last resort. So what, as far as personal safety is concerned, what are some other things that realtors could carry to protect themselves?
So I like to teach people to layer their defenses because, as I mentioned earlier, about a lot of attacks that happen and we don't even realize we're being attacked until they're already touching us. So there's really some 3 up close and personal tools and then 3 distance tools that I like to reference. So one up close and personal tool, this is always gets a chuckle. It's called a Kubaton. So this one is, it has got a grip, so it's kind of ribbed for the grip. It actually can go on your keychain if you want to put it on a keychain. I have heard people could use this to break glass if need to, but this is a striking instrument. So if you have a lanyard that's detachable, this would be great to hang on there so that you can easily pull it off. And then it's great to hit bony prominences in the body. But when you're fighting for your life, you're not thinking about, I need to hit a bony prominence, right? You just start hitting and don't stop till you can create distance, get to a safe place, call 911, or sometimes it's a transition to a more effective tool if you're truly fighting for your life. But this is a great up close and personal tool. This is called a Kubaton. Now, this could also be a pen. I like to teach people that know what's in your arsenal. If you don't feel comfortable carrying something that is, defined for personal protection, know that there are things in your surroundings or on your person or in your purse that you could use as a defensive tool. So an ink pen could work. We used to teach people to use their keys. I don't know many people that carry keys anymore because we have key fobs and keyless entry, and I've just told you not to carry anything. But if you got your car key, it's usually a remote key fob. But if you do have a key, you can definitely use that as well. It's not as effective. It moves in your hand. We tell people to put it between their fingers. If you're going to use it, I would probably do it more, I would probably have it more in a fist type where this is sticking out and use it that way. And if you're using your car key and it is protruding out of the bad guy's eye socket and you need to make a quick getaway, you would have to retrieve that. You may limit yourself. So just be careful. Maybe use the house key. I don't know. But up close and personal tool, this is one. It's called a Kubaton. And they sell these at, I think, Academy probably has them. I know the Arms Room used to have some. Cabela's probably has them. And you can get them online, I think Amazon or whatever. Okay. Now, it's a weapon. You can't fly with it. They'll take it away and they'll throw it away. So it's still considered a weapon. So another great up close and personal tool. So I remind you, up close and personal is a knife. I'm not going to open it up because I could injure myself trying to show y'all and look at the camera. But a knife, I like it. I carry mine in my bra. It's a great, I mean, it's on my person. I think that it's really important for people to understand that you can have all the tools that you want, but if you're not going to carry them and have them readily accessible, they're really doing you no good, right? So I have it and I can put it in my bra, still be hands free. But if I need a tool or a weapon quickly, I can pull that out. Now, my hope is that I never have to get into a knife fight because everybody gets hurt in a knife fight. But I always have a knife because you never know when you're going to need it to cut cake. You know, I get invited to birthday parties so you can cut cake. Or you got a string on your shirt, you can cut that off. You're always ready. Again, can't fly with this, can't take to concerts. I've lost several knives because I keep them with me or on my person or in my purse, and then they get thrown away and they're expensive. So, but a knife is a great up close and personal tool. Then one of my other favorites is a stun gun. So when we start talking about distance tools, there is a difference between a stun gun and a taser. The stun gun is an up close and personal tool, whereas a taser shoots out the prongs and it can shoot. I've seen them advertise up to 16, 21 feet. And this is, you have to be very intimate with your person. I like this particular one because it has a disable pin. And the reason why I like that is if your attacker were to pull this away from you, they can't turn around and use it against you. Another thing I like about these stun guns is it has a flashlight. So what would be the purpose of the flashlight? Christina, it's a pop quiz. So one of the purposes of the flashlight, remember we talked about going into dark spaces or vacant homes or abandoned homes. You have a light, but also we want to disrupt our attacker. We want to interrupt their OODA loop, their observe, orient, decide, and act. We need to disrupt them, right? So you can use the flashlight to blind your attacker. And that would give you the opportunity to move to a safe place, get some distance, regroup. It buys you a little bit of time, right? So you want to disrupt them. So then we turn it up. It's going to get loud, hopefully. Was that loud for y'all?
That was really loud.
It was loud. Okay. But everybody asks me about stun guns. They say it doesn't have the effect that everybody thinks it does. It's a short volt and they're going to be moving. It's very hard to hold it onto them for any length of time to create a real effect. Again, you want to hit large muscle areas. But it is a great deterrent, and that's kind of our goal as well. If we're going to be proactive in our self-protection and self-preservation, mainly we want to be deferring or deterring. We don't want to be the one that they choose as a victim. Yeah. Okay, so what were our 3 up close and personal tools? Kubaton, stun gun, and a knife. Yes. Then we start talking about our distance tools. And we talked about a taser. I don't have a taser here with me. There are civilian type tasers. They can be upwards of $500. So that's an expensive item to carry. They are effective. You know, they have distance. So 16 to 21 feet, you have to be pretty accurate with your shot. And there's usually 2 prongs that need to make contact. So right now where we're having winter weather in Texas and everybody's wearing these big winter coats may not be as effective. So just be aware of that as well. The second thing that we talk about as a distance tool is pepper spray. And HAR has pepper spray for sale at their offices. And some of them are blingy and they're super cute. So pepper spray is great because it's very portable. You can put it on your keychain. You can put it in your pocket. Again, you can keep it on your person and it's very portable. Things you need to know about pepper spray is if you pepper spray someone, you're very likely going to get it on yourself. The wind will carry it. It's going to come back on you. You need to check your canister. I've had people tell me, I've had my pepper spray for 30 years. And I'm like, okay, it may not be working as effectively. It's not that the pepper itself degrades. It's more about the pressure in the canister degrades, especially in Texas where we have a lot of, we leave it in the car and it's hot, or we bring it inside and it's cold. So you have a lot of changing of the pressure. So just be aware of that. And the canisters are sold separately in a lot of places. You can get pepper spray anywhere. Can't carry it on an airplane, but you can definitely get some pepper spray. It is effective on most people, but it is not an immediate response. So you still have a few seconds before the effects of the pepper spray really kick in. The other thing is some people will not be affected by the pepper spray. An attacker that's under the influence of drugs or alcohol may not have an effect from it.
Mm-hmm.
People that have a high tolerance to spiciness may not have, because it is a true pepper.
Mm-hmm.
I like this particular pepper spray because it has UV dye in it. So if you can find a company that sells pepper spray that has UV dye, that's great. And the purpose of that is if you were to spray your attacker and they got away, and then a few days later they got picked up, the police officers can confirm that they were sprayed with pepper spray by placing them under a black light, and it'll glow. So it still shows up even if they go and shower. It's on there for about 3 to 5 days.
Wow,
so
that's
pretty
neat.
cool, that UV dye. Yeah. So
And that's
if
another
you can
tool
find pepper
that
spray,
you would need to practice with, correct? So you know what
I
you're
think
doing.
so. Well, if you want to spray your, significant other or your children, sure, but you definitely want to make sure that it sprays.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that. Here's the problem, and I'm sure somebody in the group will disagree.
Mm-hmm.
When you're being attacked, all the practice in the world goes out the window. You're going to rely on muscle memory and just time and that fear and that panic and that adrenaline that's kicked in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I like about this too is it has a glow in the dark top, because when you say practice, you want to make sure you're aiming it at your attacker and not at yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So knowing where you're directing that spray is very important, but realize that in the heat of the moment, when you're being attacked, your brain isn't there. You're in survival mode, and you may spray yourself, but you will probably hit the attacker. There's gonna be cross-contamination with pepper spray. So I don't know how you practice with pepper spray, because if you practice with it, you will use it up, and then you would need to replace it. So you don't want to use it up. And I've had somebody say, well, how many sprays can you get out there? When you're fighting for your life, you just keep spraying, right? You're not counting, oh, I've got 4 sprays left. No, you just hold it down and you keep spraying. So practice in any kind of self-defense and anything to be proficient is vital. The last distance tool that we talk about is a firearm. And Brian and any instructor, well, anybody that carries a firearm will share with you about muscle memory. And that's why it is so important that you're going out and you're practicing and understanding your grip, understanding how your firearm works, your recoil, just different things. And so it's very, very important to practice with that, because martial artists will even tell you about muscle memory. We talk about a defensive stance. That's not always natural. You'd be surprised at how many people, when being attacked, they start backing up and don't even put their hands up to start the defensive stance. You get into a defensive stance and you learn that, and it'll just come naturally. The other thing we talk about is, what do you do? We have the fight or flight or freeze response when under attack. And in most cases, we need to become the attacker when we start to try to defend ourselves. So you've got to figure out how you're going to respond. And it's all about that mindset and that mental preparedness.
Yeah, definitely. Brandy, you've given us so much to think about, and there's a lot of comments and other suggestions. If you don't mind, after this, there are a couple people had questions for you about brands and pricing and things like that on some of the tools. But this has been really, really helpful, because again, safety is so important. It's number one as far as what we want for our members. And some of these things seem so practical, but like you're saying, when that fight or flight kicks in, you want to make sure that you have made a plan and you know what to do. One thing else I want to say, Brandy, is, and I've heard you talk about this before, is especially with women, they tend to be afraid of being rude or offending somebody. Can you speak to that and just, what your thoughts are on that?
Absolutely. So I talk about verbal judo, and, we're nurturers, women, men, it's not one or the other. I mean, there are some men out there that have been victimized, but they're usually more in tune with what's going on, and they're more apt to respond in a more aggressive manner when necessary. And women, we like to sit back and wonder what's happening. Why is it happening? what happened to you when you were a baby that's making you want to do this? We want to rationalize it, and we take too much time on that. And I talk about verbal judo and getting comfortable with using your voice. And, I teach people, we're going to do our little exercise. Christina, are you in for the stop? So we'll do a little verbal judo, but don't be afraid to ask somebody to keep their distance. And there's ways you can do it and still be that nurturing, kind person. There's ways to incorporate humor into an awkward situation that allows you your escape. Most people know me for the no square, and Christina and I will demonstrate that in just a minute. But don't be afraid to tell somebody to stop or to keep their distance. And I had a situation where a man came up on me, and I did not have my firearm with me, and I don't carry it very often or all the time, and I haven't been training with it, so that's why. But this man kept coming up to me, and I said, stop. And I said, don't come any closer. And he said, are you the realtor? Blah, blah. I said, I am a realtor, but I'm not your realtor. I don't know who you are. And in my mind, I'm like, they're going to find my body, a month from now. Cause it was a abandoned house in Alvin, and I was lost in Alvin. And I was like, nobody's going to come out and find me for a year. It could have been, I don't know. But anyway, I put my hand on my hip as if I did have my firearm. And I put my hand up in a defensive measure, and my voice got higher and higher each time. Normally, I can disarm or distract somebody with humor, but I was really uncomfortable at that situation. And I told him, I said, stop. Do not come any closer. And when my client finally showed up, she spoke Spanish, and he, there was a language barrier, but stop was universal for him. So he knew what that meant. But she talked to him, and he did end up coming with us. But I felt a little more comfortable because I had somebody there. But I always make jokes, and this is something that people will remember, and it's kind of funny, but you'll say it, and you get comfortable with being able to say stop. So Christina, put your hands up with me. And do you remember it, or do I need to say it first?
I don't remember it. You're going to have to remind me.
Okay. So we say, stop. Don't touch me there. This is my no square. So kind of funny, but if you have to say it to an attacker, he may think you're crazier than he is or she is. And I always assume that the attacker is a man, but it could be a woman, because there's crazy women out there. So be careful. So anyway, Christina, say it with me. So we got stop. Don't touch me there. This is my no square. You can use it on your husbands, boyfriends, girlfriends later, not in the mood. Don't touch me there.
Or even kids when you need some space, right?
But don't be afraid to use that verbal judo. I think that that's the biggest. And again, the largest weapon that you have, the most valuable resource that you have is your brain, is your mind. You have to be mentally prepared. You have to be mentally aware. And you just have to be always on a swivel, paying attention. And then you have to have a plan. And that plan has to play in your mind multiple times, whether it's you got to use your verbal judo, or you've got to figure out your escape route, your message of how you would get out of an awkward situation. Already have it prepared. Understanding muscle memory. All those things are very, very important. And they all come down to mindset and mental preparedness.
Very good. There were a few members that were asking, and you and I talked about this actually last week. There were a few members that were asking about Violet Macris, an update on her. She had gone missing a few weeks back. We aren't aware if it was related to real estate. We don't really have an update there, but we continue to think about her family and make sure and hope she is doing well. But we do also want to thank our members. It was just an outpour of well wishes and people sharing our post about her. And even if it wasn't related to real estate, she's a member of the Realtor family. So we wanted to make sure that she was found and okay. So again, we understand that people want an update, but that we don't really know much at this point. So, but if it is related to real estate, if we do find that out, we will make sure to let you guys know. Brandy, any last thoughts for our members in regard to their safety or anything else?
I think go out there and just continue to keep your head on a swivel. Pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to those gut feelings. Keep showing houses. Use the resources that are provided by HAR. If you do come across someone that is calling and harassing or an incident has occurred, please share it with us. And like Christina said, which I really, when the agent went missing, I felt like we were a family. Everybody rallied to try to help out. Whatever happened as a result after that was really not any of my business, but I was glad to be informed, and I was glad to be a part of a community that looked out for each other. And that's what I'm going to say. That's how I end this right now: is take care of each other, look out for each other, and stay safe.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you. We will be back next week. Next week is Martin Luther King Day. We will have a program, and we're going to be talking a lot about community involvement. So it will be a topical segment next week. So we'll see you next Monday at 9 a.m. Brandy, thank you again. And thank you again to all our members. Stay safe.
Thank you.